On the news around the world tonight, President Tinubu mourns fallen soldiers of Borno terrorist attack. Olubadan announces major reform in Ibadan chieftaincy line. Shipping in Strait of Hormuz at standstill despite U.S.-Iran ceasefire agreements. Good evening and thank you for joining us on the news around the world. I am Josephine Oluwabumi and on the sign language corner is Shakirat Ogundeji. President Tinubu has expressed deep sadness over the loss of soldiers of the 29th Task Force Brigade Operation Handikai, who were killed in a coordinated terrorist attack on their camp in Beni Sheikh, Borno State. The president also extended heartfelt condolences to the military and families of the fallen soldiers, urging them to remain strong in the face of the loss. The defense headquarters confirmed the attack and the casualties, which occurred in the early hours of Thursday, noting that the insurgents attempted to breach the facility's defensive perimeter but were repelled by troops. It said the soldiers responded with exceptional courage, professionalism, and superior firepower, forcing the attackers to retreat, confirming that a few soldiers were killed during the encounter. In a statement signed by his spokesperson, Bayo Onanuga, President Tinubu praised the courage and heroism of the troops, noting that they fought valiantly to repel the terrorists and prevent Boko Haram from overrunning the communities they protect. While mourning the fallen soldiers, the president urged the leadership of the armed forces and troops on the front line not to be discouraged, but to draw strength from the nation's appreciation of their sacrifices. Gunmen on Thursday night invaded Mbwele village in BCOS local government area of Plateau State and killed at least 8 persons. Most of the victims were members of the same family, officials said. The chairman of the community peace observers in BCOS local government area, Kefas Malai, confirmed the killings on Friday. He said the attack occurred around 11 p.m. when the assailants invaded the community and opened fire indiscriminately on residents, leaving about 3 other persons injured, while some community members were still missing. Malai said the attack lasted for several hours with no visible security presence to repel the attackers. Malai further alleged that security forces did not respond despite the proximity of the area and that personnel were currently deployed to protect a specific community suspected by natives of BCOS to be the origin of the attackers. In our related development, the Catholic Diocese of Kontagora has raised fresh alarm over escalating violence in Kebbi State, revealing that 24 people were killed in a deadly Easter Sunday attack on Debe village in Jaga local government area. The attack was the latest in a series of violent incidents in the border communities between Kebbi and Niger states. According to a statement issued in Yauri, Kebbi State, the diocese said suspected terrorists stormed the community around 5 p.m. on the 5th of April, unleashing hours of violence that left dozens dead and properties in ruins. The victims, according to the church, cut across religious lines, Christians, Muslims, and traditional worshippers, underscoring what it's described as a tragedy against humanity, not a particular faith. The attackers reportedly set ablaze St. Mary's Catholic Church, a mosque, residential homes, and shops, while targeting mostly men and youths. The diocese disclosed that 491 internally displaced persons are currently taking refuge at St. Dominic, in a country grappling with high poverty levels. In a related development, the Catholic Diocese of Kontagora has raised fresh alarm over escalating violence in Kebbi State, revealing that 24 people were killed in a deadly Easter Sunday attack on Debe village in Shaga local government areas. The attack was the latest in a series of violent incidents in the border communities between Kebbi and Niger states. According to a statement issued in Yaru, Kebbi State, diocese says suspected terrorists stormed the community around 5 p.m. on the 5th of April, unleashing hours of violence that left dozens dead and properties in ruin. The Nigeria Bar Association has warned that it will take disciplinary action against lawyers who institute court cases aimed at drawing the judiciary into internal disputes within political parties. In a statement released amidst ongoing factional and leadership crisis, the association expressed concern over what it described as a growing trend of legal practitioners and courts becoming entangled in intra-party matters despite clear provisions of the law. The NBA stressed that the law explicitly bars courts from entertaining cases relating to the internal affairs of political parties. It further explained that courts are also restricted from issuing interim or interlocutory orders in such matters. The association criticized what it described as ongoing violations of these provisions. The NBA warned that such practices could undermine democratic processes. The NBA vowed to take decisive actions against erring practitioners. We shall now take a short commercial break. Please stay tuned.
When malaria knocks you down, you can be sure parasites are having a party in your system.
Welcome to our new kingdom, guys!
Comel, an effective weapon against malaria. Attacking the parasite army directly to give you express relief and get you back on your feet effectively. Comel on. Malaria gone.
Good, tasty food is worth living for. Worried about your oil every time you enjoy your favorite meal? Introducing Smart Balance. Smart Balance Rice Bran Oil is rich in Gamma Original. Golden Terra Smart Balance Oil reduces bad cholesterol.
You're welcome back. The Olubadan of Ibadan land, Oba Rashidi Adewolu Ladoja, has announced a major reform in the process of entering the Olubadan chieftaincy line, declaring that financial influence will no longer determine eligibility. The monarch made this known at the Olubadan Palace in Okearemo, Ibadan, during the conferment of the title of Jagun Olubadan on Mogaji Fajeme, Chief Oladiran Alabi Yerumbi. Staff reporter Adebayo Abdurrafiq was there to bring the details.
The Olubadan of Ibadan land, Oba Rashidi Adewolu Ladoja Arusa I, stated that the era where money or influence dictated entry into the Olubadan line has come to an end, emphasizing that merit and service will now take precedence. He explained that in addition to educational exposure and a visible means of livelihood, prospective candidates must demonstrate verifiable contributions to the development of their families and the wider Ibadan community. Speaking through the Balogun of Ibadan land, Oba Tajuddin Ajibola, the monarch disclosed that the Olubadan Advisory Council is in full support of the new policy, which led to the establishment of 3 screening committees to assess applications from interested mortgagees. According to him, applicants are now required to present credible evidence of grassroots development efforts before being considered for the Jagun title, the entry point into the Olubadan succession line.
Shine your eye very, very well.
Oba Ladoja congratulated Chief Oladiran Alabi Yerumbi, who emerged successful among 102 applicants, describing his selection as a reward for merit and service. He also acknowledged the contributions of other contestants, urging them not to be discouraged, noting that only 1 vacancy was available.
The first pledge is to increase the development of Ibadan, improve the ability for youths to be gainfully employed and to empower people that wants to be empowered. That is my vote to KBAC, and that is exactly what's going to happen. We've been doing it, but now it's going to be all over Ibadan, and we are ready, willing, and able to do it.
The reform is seen as a significant step towards strengthening transparency and preserving the integrity of the traditional institution in Ibadan land. Adebayo Abdurrafi, BCOS News.
In a country grappling with high poverty levels, curbing vote trading remains a major challenge, as experts warn that weak enforcement and lack of prosecution continue to fuel the practice. This formed the focus of discussion on the BCOS Current Affairs Breakfast Program AM120, where stakeholders examined the theme 2027 polls, vote trading apathy and party crisis. Our reporter Fidora Afolagboye monitored the program, reports.
As preparations for the 2027 general elections gather momentum, concerns over vote trading, voter apathy, and internal party crises continue to dominate public discourse. Observers note that these challenges not only undermine democratic integrity, but also weaken public confidence in the electoral process. Speaking on BCOS television breakfast program AM120, public affairs analyst Professor Babatunde Adegoke attributed the persistence of vote trading to the absence of strong political ideology among many leaders. He explained that the prioritization of personal and family interest over public service often fuels defections and may trigger increased cross-carpeting ahead of the 2027 polls. On voter apathy, Professor Adegoke noted that limited knowledge of candidates and a growing belief that election outcomes are predetermined discourage citizens from participating in the electoral process.
In Nigeria of today, you find out that people are not really interested in serving the people. They're interested in bringing up their own family and the immediate environment. So it makes it so easy. So if I don't get what I want in party A, then I move straight away to party B, since there is no difference between party A and party B. It's not, the parties were not created on the basis of ideology. In fact, we are going to see more of this cross-carpeting in the next few months, preceding the election.
Also on the program, legal practitioner Sharafaddin Soni, SAN, emphasized that responsibility for credible election does not rest solely on the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. He explained that while the commission is mandated to conduct elections, it cannot dictate voter behavior or eliminate malpractice without the cooperation of the electorate. Sonny added that although the INEC chairman is expected to uphold professionalism, meaningful change ultimately depends on citizens making informed and responsible choices at the polls.
There's not going to be anything different except if he wants to deceive ourselves. He's not a miracle worker. Yes, he's going to do his best, and we're going to have it as we used to have it before, except when the voters decide to, because the fate is in their hands to use it. When they decide to use their fate to their vote to determine their fate, and at the end of the day, get the results they want.
Both analysts call the Nigerians to actively participate in the electoral process, resist vote trading, and hold political actors accountable as the nation prepares for the 2027 general elections. Fidora Afolagboye, BCOS News.
Women in Oyo State have been encouraged to embrace the evolving digital landscape, particularly artificial intelligence, as a tool for growth, innovation, and empowerment. The call was made at the Revolution Leadership Momentum, a platform designed to equip women with the skills needed to thrive in business, career, and leadership in the digital economy. Staff reporter Adebayo Abdurrafi, who was at the event held at the Oyo State Secretariat, Agodi Ibadan, reports that the wife of the state governor, Engineer Tamino Menene Makinde, delivered the keynote address.
Revolution Leadership Momentum was an initiative of the Senior Special Assistant to the Oyo State Governor on Local Government and Chieftaincy Matters, Dr. Ramata Agberemi Dabo, through our platform, Female Leadership Legends, wife of the Oyo State Governor, Engineer Tamunomini Makinde, in a keynote address delivered by the State Head of Service, Mrs. Olubumi Oni, urged women not to be intimidated by technological changes, but to see them as opportunities for advancement. She expressed optimism that participants had gained practical knowledge to improve their businesses and daily lives, stressing the need for professionals, businesswomen, and civil servants to embrace artificial intelligence for greater productivity.
Her Excellency Engineer Tamunomini said women must support women, that we must encourage ourselves, and we must do so well to train ourselves, to teach ourselves in the art of using AI to improve our work, that in our workplace we should be able to adapt to technological advancement.
In a presentation, a life coach, Reverend Olufunke Adetuberu, emphasized the importance of emotional healing and self-awareness as foundations for effective leadership among women. She noted that unresolved trauma and emotional burdens could hinder growth, adding that women must prioritize their well-being to build stable and successful futures.
As a female leader, if you are battling with rejection, abandonment, probably you are divorced or things that happen to you that has really crushed you, affect your self-esteem, making you to make wrong decisions, the first thing to do is to go to therapy and heal. Therapy is for you to be able to bounce back unscratched and unscruffled.
Also speaking, the chairman, Oyo State House of Assembly Committee on Women Affairs, Honorable Olufunke Comforter, encouraged women to believe in themselves and strive for excellence in all their endeavors. Goodwill messages from Mrs. Aduke Fumilayo and Princess Sheyi Oyewale highlighted the need for women to overcome fear, pursue education, and actively participate in leadership and political processes. Convener of the program, Dr. Ramata Agberemi Dabo, described Female Leadership Legends as a non-partisan platform committed to nurturing women for leadership roles. She stressed that leadership begins from the home, urging women to leverage artificial intelligence to enhance their businesses and professional relevance. Dr. Agberemi Dabo also called for stronger support among women to enable more of them attain leadership positions, while appreciating Governor Seyi Makinde for providing opportunities for women in governance.
Career-oriented women are the women giving back to the society that we do not see on the screen or we do not see on the platform or that do not hold a mic, but they pay their quota and they give back to society to make sure our society is healthy and sane for our children.
The event brought together women from diverse professional backgrounds, all united by a shared goal of harnessing digital innovation for personal growth and societal development. Participants expressed readiness to apply the knowledge gained with a renewed commitment to supporting one another and shaping a more inclusive and empowered future for women. Adebayo Abdurafi, BCOS News.
A social political group, the Great Movement Forum, has been launched by concerned retired primary school teachers in Oyo State to promote the welfare of its members. Our reporter Olamide Olabi reports that the launch took place at the UMC school premises in Ibadan.
Welfare remains a critical concern in every society, particularly for retirees who have devoted decades to public service and nation building. Driven by this reality, primary school teachers retirees from across local government areas in Oyo State have come together to establish the Great Movement Forum, a socio-political platform aimed at advancing their collective interest and improving their standard of living. The forum seeks to provide a unified voice for members to advocate their rights, access social support, and actively participate in socio-political activities within their communities. In a welcome address, the general coordinator of the forum, Chief Idowu Lawal, commended the administration of Governor Seyi Makinde for ongoing efforts in addressing the needs for pensioners, especially in the payment of gratuities and other entitlements. She noted that the formation of the forum would further strengthen the voice of retirees, enabling them to engage relevant stakeholders and contribute meaningfully to governance and community development.
Seyi Makinde has been so kind by making sure he prepared our benefit along with others. And this is why we feel that you people, let's come together. In the past, we gathered together so that we'll be mounting pressure for the payment of our pension and gratuity. But majority of us have received now. What next after the payment of gratuity? We want to continue our social group. We want to be relating so that we can even go into investment.
In his remarks, the chairman of the Nigerian Union of Teachers, Ibadan Ibarapa Block, Comrade Kolapo Are, emphasized unity as the driving force behind the initiative, urging members to remain quite safe in pursuing their shared goals, and added that a unified front would enhance their capacity to achieve lasting impact.
That's a very good development. We need people to amass themselves so that they will have a common front in order to benefit from the democracy. Because you cannot just sit at your home and be accepting that something will just come directly. You need to ask. Even the Bible said it, ask is have been given. So when people are now gathering together in numbers, it will be very easier for them to ask for their rights. And it will be very easy for their righteous to come to them easily.
Also speaking, the chairman of the retired primary school teachers, Nigerian Union of Pensioners, Ibadan Southwest, Comrade Caroline Esuwosho, alongside the chairman of all educational secretaries in Oyo State, Dr. Mumin Okebukola, described the forum as a commendable initiative that would significantly enhance members' welfare.
It is a good thing that, when somebody is agitating, to join the elders to make things easier in order to link directly to the government of the state. So what they did is very fine.
We have to appreciate the mover of this thing. That is Mrs. Olaide Lawal and all the retirees that deem it fit that they should organize a movement whereby they will give their full support to His Excellency whenever the need arises.
A major highlight of the event was the unveiling of the forum's vest and cap, symbolizing its identity and unity. The event attracted union leaders and education secretaries from Ibadan Southwest, Egbeda, Oluyole, and Akinyele local government areas. Olamide Owolabi, BCOS News.
The birth of a child is commonly acknowledged as a momentous and life-altering event for families. However, beneath the jubilation and elation, some mothers experience emotional and psychological turmoil following childbirth. This condition, referred to as postpartum depression, has a profound impact on a mother's mood, thoughts, and overall well-being, ultimately hindering her capacity to effectively respond to the needs of her newborn. In this report, our reporter Diola Oladele examines the underlying causes and ways to manage postpartum depression.
Postpartum depression is a significant mood disorder affecting postnatal women, surpassing the transient baby blues, with its sustained presence and considerable disruption to everyday functioning, emotional health, and effective caregiving for both mother and child. According to specialists, typical symptoms include persistent feelings of sadness, reduced interest in daily activities, fatigue, and challenges bonding with the baby, with some cases involving social isolation or struggles with feelings of despair. Speaking to Dr. Lariwaju Adeniji, the Chief Medical Director at Adeoyo Maternity Hospital, various factors can elevate a woman's risk of experiencing postpartum depression, such as changes in hormonal levels, prior mental health conditions, insufficient support, substantial life modifications, and the stress associated with carrying a newborn baby.
It appears to be something that is most oftentimes common with first-timers, those who are having pregnancies for the first time. They've not gone through the process, so changes that goes on in the body, the stress of having to take care of a new baby, stress of relating with the husband, stress of relating with the family member. A lot of this stress can go a long way to predisposing women that are particularly vulnerable to this particular condition, to developing it fully after delivery of their baby. Women that have undergone this condition earlier, maybe in a previous pregnancy, they went through this stage, probably it wasn't well managed, they are equally at risk of developing the same in a new pregnancy.
Dr. Adeniji observed that a strong support system from family and loved ones allows many mothers to recover and regain their emotional balance successfully. He also mentioned that treatment options like counseling, therapy, or medication, when necessary, have shown effectiveness in helping affected women recover and achieve stability.
We need to be empathic to women that has just delivered. Many of them are just trying to understand their body. They are undergoing changes. So when they begin to exhibit some of these signs and symptoms, they need to be treated with love and care. And most importantly, the baby needs maybe temporary separation from the mother. So that pending when this mother is going to recover from this sickness, we are sure that the baby is in a safe hand. So we don't need to stigmatize them. Help is available. They can always access help at any healthcare facility, good healthcare facility around. So even for healthcare practitioners, once we notice that a woman becomes unduly moody, she's becoming unduly detached from her baby, or she becomes unduly weepy after delivery, then we need to have a high index of suspicion. It is something that can happen after delivery, and it is something that help can be gotten for. And many women, they go through it and they recover fully.
The obstetrician and gynecologist stressed that increasing awareness is crucial to prevent any mother from feeling isolated during a motherhood experience. Adiola Oladile, BCOS News.
Concerns are mounting over rising cases of domestic violence in homes, with many incidents occurring in the presence of children. Experts warn that beyond the immediate harm to victims, children who witness such violence are often left with deep emotional and psychological scars that can shape their behavior and relationships for years. BCOS reporter Adiola Oladile examines the implications of this growing concern.
For children, the home is expected to be a place of safety, love, and protection. However, for some, it has become an environment marked by fear and uncertainty due to exposure to domestic violence. Experts say exposure to violence at a young age can distort a child's understanding of relationships, often normalizing aggression or silence in the face of abuse. A child and family consultant, Dr. Luwatoyin Daniel, explained that children who witness domestic violence may develop persistent fear and emotional distress. She noted that in some cases, such children grow up perceiving violence as a normal way of resolving conflicts, either becoming victims or replicating the same patterns in adulthood. Dr. Daniel added that these experiences can negatively impact children's behavior, relationships, and overall mental well-being if not properly addressed.
A child can be withdrawn, they can be depressed, they will not even talk to you as parents at a time. You are the one. Maybe it's you and your husband that is fighting. At a point, the children, when you are fighting, they are closing their ear. They'll be like they've started again. They want to leave that home because happiness is no longer there. They are not deriving what they ought to derive in that family as at that time. So as a parent, all you can do is make sure your child is given an atmosphere of love. If there are atmosphere of love, all these gender-based violence, we can address them. We can sit down and sort out our differences as husband, as wife, or as male or female. We can sit down and talk about it. Please do not involve younger ones in your fight.
Also speaking with BCOS News, the Assistant Secretary of the International Federation of Women Lawyers, Oyo State Chapter, Mrs. Bolanle Ogunwale, emphasized that domestic violence is not merely a private family matter, but a punishable offense under the law. She cited the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, noting that any person who inflicts physical injury on another is liable upon conviction to a term of imprisonment of up to 5 years, a fine of up to 500,000 naira, or both.
The law is there, and the most important thing is enforcing and implementing the law to protect such children. And most of the time, we need support. We need to create awareness. We need to ensure that we have enlightenment campaigns to spread out information to the vulnerables, to the people who don't know that they are protected by the law and they have rights to be protected by the law.
Mrs. Ogunwale urged victims to speak up and seek help, stressing that silence often allows abuse to persist.
So when you experience it, speak up and make sure you ask for help. And peradventure somebody speaks up in respect of domestic violence, let's make sure that we have support systems in place to rescue such a woman so that that woman could stay alive, to take care of herself, to take care of our children, and also ensure that we don't multiply the case of murder and homicide within the society.
Stakeholders maintain that protecting children from exposure to violence is critical to raising emotionally stable individuals and building a safer and healthier society. Adeola Oladile, BCOS News.
Family members, neighbors, and relatives delivered glowing tributes during the Christian wake held in honor of Mama Lydia Olushayo Aremo, the mother of renowned broadcaster Ademola Aremo, also known as Papa Demi. The program, held at the residence of the deceased at Omolayo Layout, Agbowo, Ibadan, demonstrated the exemplary character of Mama Aremo. Our reporter, Folashade Akutola, was at the event, and she reports.
The Agbowo residence of late Mama Lydia Olushayo Aremu was filled with an atmosphere of solemn reflection and gratitude as loved ones gather for a Christian week service. The gathering featured hymns of praise, devotional prayers, and emotional tributes in a celebration of a woman often described as a paragon of faith and virtue. During the sermon, Reverend Egbeto Okunropo charged Christians to live a meaningful and godly life that will be remembered positively after death. He stressed that life unpredictability necessitates living in a manner that honors God and draws others to Him.
Live well now, so that we will not need to tell lies at your funeral. What are we going to say? Nígbà tí ìwọ náà bá kọjá sódì kejì. Anybody can die at any time. Ṣùgbọ́n iṣẹ́ tí wàá máa ṣe sílẹ̀ ní pé gbogbo ìgbà tó bá ti dé láti pè ọ́, ó gbọ́dọ̀ rí bíbí wọn dé sí. Mi ìrẹ́ nìkan kan tó sọ̀rọ̀ níbi tí ò dárúkọ pé màmá jẹ́ ẹni tí ó ní sùúrù tó sì jẹ́ aládùúrà. Mama has gone to see her God.
According to children and family members, Mama Lydia, popularly known as your teacher, was a prayerful, disciplined, and caring woman distinguished by her remarkable patience, generosity, and accommodating spirit.
Mama, in fact, mo gbé bí fún ọdún mẹ́rin. Mo gbọ́ ọdún mẹ́rẹ̀ẹ̀rin yẹn. Kò síbi tí màmá fi pamọ́ fún mi.
Màmá jẹ́ àwòkọ́ṣe rere fún àwọn obìnrin torí pé màmá jẹ́ aládùúrà. Wọ́n sì jẹ́ ẹni tí àwọn obìnrin nínú ìjọ náà tá wo àwòkọ́ṣe wọn.
She's a very caring, disciplined. Màmá fẹ́ràn gbogbo àwọn ọmọ ẹ̀gbọ́n ọmọ àbúrò ni wọ́n kó gbogbo wọn mọ́ra ni. Tí àwa tó jẹ́ àbúrò ọkọ tá a bá ní gbọ́dọ̀ à ń sọ pẹ̀lú ìyàwó wa, màmá gbàdúrà ni. In fact, gbogbo tí bí Bíbélì ṣe sọ pé ẹ ká máa gbàdúrà láì sinmi. Baba is an epitome of that. She's what emulating.
Mama Lydia, ó jẹ́ ẹni tó kóyàn mọ́ra, ó ní sùúrù, kì í bínú rárá.
Prayers were specifically offered for the children and family members, requesting God's strength and comfort amidst their loss. Mama Lydia Aremu, mother of renowned broadcaster Ademola Aremu,
known as Papa Demi, passed away at the age of 86. Falashade Akintola, BCOS News.
Now to a sports segment.
The evening news. My name is Toby Ajewale.
The National Sports Commission, NSC, has warned that states which registered athletes for the third National Para Games but failed to show up will be suspended from para events at the upcoming National Sports Festival. Director General Honorable Bukola Olopade stressed that strict enforcement of rules is essential for the growth and credibility of Nigerian sports. Olopade said a system that rewards commitment and respects structure must be built, as the rules were clear and the Commission would uphold them without compromise. Citing Article Cap 5 of the competition rules, the NSC confirmed the sanction is designed to promote discipline and protect opportunities for committed athletes. Nigeria's strong reputation in parasport, including at Paralympic level, will be protected by maintaining high standards, the DG added. Recall that Enugu State dominated the third National Para Games, emerging champions with 55 medals, a breakdown which saw 40 gold, 8 silver and 7 bronze. Bayelsa State finished second with 25 gold, 30 silver and 24 bronze, while Edo State placed third with 25 gold, 14 silver and 12 bronze medals. And ahead of the 2026 International Table Tennis Federation World Team Table Tennis Championship in London, Nigeria's Taiwo Mati says Team Nigeria is confident of exceeding expectations but remains cautious of tough opponents. Mati, who plays in France for Le Havre, is part of a strong men's team led by veteran Quadri Aruna alongside Olajide Omotayo and young Matthew Kuti. Nigeria has been drawn in Group 15 with Hong Kong, China, South Africa and Saudi Arabia. The women's team faces Australia, Uzbekistan and Wales in Group 11. Nigeria qualified convincingly after winning all their group matches 3-0 at the 2025 ITTF Africa Championships in Tunis. And in football, the Oyo State Football Association has assured all teams of transparent officiating and neutral venues as the 2026 Federations Cup gets underway on April 14th. FA Chairman Oba James Odeniran said the association is committed to fairness and credibility, urging teams to strictly observe the rules. Preliminary matches will be held at the Ebedi Stadium, semi-finals at the Olubadan Stadium, while both men's and women's finals will take place at the Lekon Salami Stadium on April 26. The tournament kicks off with Matrix Football Club versus Mustard Seed Energy International Sport Club on April 14th, followed by several knockout ties leading to the grand finale. Finally in sport news tonight, Jean-Philippe Mateta ended a 3-month goal drought as Crystal Palace trashed Fiorentina 3-0 in the first leg of their UEFA Conference League quarterfinals at Selhurst Park. Mateta opened the scoring from the penalty spot in the 24th minute after Ivan Guisson was fouled. He then played a key role in the second goal, with Tyrick Mitchell finishing a rebound in the 31st minute. Ismail Assar sealed a comfortable victory with a header in the 90th minute, putting Palace in a commanding position ahead of next week's return leg in Florence. Palace will now face either Shakhtar Donetsk or AZ Alkmaar in the semi-finals if they successfully defend their 3-goal lead in Italy.
And that will be all. And it's back to news around the world. My name is Toby Ajewale.
Shipping remains at a standstill in the Strait of Hormuz despite the ceasefire agreement between the United States and Iran. The situation is dampening hopes for a resolution to one of the worst global energy disruptions in history. Foreign News editor Khadija Lawal compiles the story and others as presented by Bimbo Akambi.
Only a handful of vessels have transited the critical strait since Washington and Tehran on Tuesday announced a 2-week pause in fighting, according to ship tracking data. 5 vessels crossed the strait on Wednesday, down from 11 the previous day, and 7 transited on Thursday, according to data from market intelligence firm Kepler. More than 600 vessels, including 325 tankers, are still stranded in the Gulf due to the blockade of the strait, according to Lloyd's List Intelligence. While some vessel movement has resumed, traffic remains very limited. Compliant ship owners are likely to stay cautious and safe transit capacity is expected to remain constrained at maximum 10 to 15 passages a day if the ceasefire holds, without consideration of tolls applied, Kepler trade risk analyst Anna Subasic said in an analysis on Thursday.
This negotiation fall apart in a conflict where they were getting hammered over Lebanon, which has nothing to do with them and which the United States never once said was part of the ceasefire. That's ultimately their choice. We think that would be dumb, but that's their choice.
Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel says he will not bow to pressure by the United States to resign. Stepping down is not part of our vocabulary, he said in an interview with the press on Thursday. The president described communist-ruled Cuba as a free sovereign state with a right to self-determination, adding that the island is not subject to the designs of the United States.
I have no fear. I am willing to give my life for the revolution. Of course, I wouldn't like that to be the attitude of the U.S. government. I think the American people is a sensitive people, and they wouldn't allow, or they wouldn't see with good eyes that their government, the country, would invade a very small island that does not pose any concern in terms of national security for the United States.
The president, since 2018, increasing pressure and demands for regime change from President Donald Trump's administration. Trump has hinted that Cuba could face the same fate as Venezuela and Iran. Cuba's main oil supply was cut off after Trump ousted Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro in January. The U.S. has since imposed an oil blockade on the island and threatened tariffs on any country that sells oil to Cuba. Russia's President Vladimir Putin has announced a 32-hour ceasefire for Orthodox Easter, with President Volodymyr Zelensky confirming that Ukraine will honor it. The Kremlin said on Thursday that the pause in fighting will begin at 4 p.m. Moscow time on Saturday and run until midnight on Sunday, covering Easter celebrations observed in both countries. It added that Defense Minister Andrei Belousov had instructed Chief of the General Staff Valery Gerasimov to halt military operations during the period. Russian forces, however, will remain ready to respond to any violations. Zelensky said Ukraine had already proposed a similar pause and will act in kind. Bimbo Akonbi, BCOS News.
To end the news around the world, here again are the main points. President Tinubu has expressed deep sadness over the loss of soldiers of the 29th Task Force Brigade Operation Handukai, who were killed in a coordinated terrorist attack on their camp in Bene Sheikh, Borno State. The Olubadan of Ibadan land, Oba Rashidi Adewolu Ladoja, has announced a major reform in the process of entering the Olubadan chieftaincy line, declaring that financial influence will no longer determine eligibility. Shipping remains at a standstill in the Strait of Hormuz despite the ceasefire agreement between the United States and Iran. BCOS website is live. Kindly visit www.bcostv.com. You can reach us on GoTV, channel 134 and channel 113 on Star Times. Now, before I go, make sure you play safe in everything you do. And that ends the news around the world. On behalf of the news crew, I say thank you very much for watching. Good night.